refining, petrochemical work, gas plant work, LNG work, offshore, pipeline, everywhere, medical work, doing those types of jobs around the world. We have other businesses. We have a civil business line. Our civil business line is headquartered in London. And they also do work all over the world. They do primarily railroads, airports, highways, bridges, dams, transportation systems, underground systems. If any of you ever been to London or lived in London, actually owns and operates about a third of the London underground. So we manage it and maintain it. That's our civil business headquartered in London. So we have a communications business, and in that business we build cell towers. We are the largest cell tower builder in the world. And think about a little cell tower that you see, it's a very big project. One costs anywhere from $75,000 to maybe $150,000. But when you do 10,000 of them a year, it's a pretty good size business. So we do that in our communications business. Our mining and metals business is headquartered in Brisbane, Australia. We have several thousand people that work in Australia. We do mining and metals projects all over the world, and I'll show you later where some of the jobs are. The biggest concentration of work for us in that business today is in Chile. We've got about 3,500 people that work down in Santiago. We have a huge office there. We do all the work in South America and the world. We have a power business. I used to lead the power business. I'll talk about it more later. It's headquartered in Frederick, Maryland, which is just north of Washington, west of Baltimore, a small town in Maryland. And our power business, again, all over the world, we build more nuclear power plants than any company. About 70% of the nuclear plants in the U.S. were designed and built by Bethel, mainly back in the 60s and 70s. So oil, gas, and chemical business that I run now is headquartered in Houston, Texas. We have about 2,000 people that work in Houston. We also have a major office in Calgary, Canada, as part of my business. And in London, an office in London, we're office in Bangkok, Shanghai, and Delhi, India. One of the businesses that I run. And we have a government business, primarily U.S. government work. I'll show you some of the projects we're working on later. Today, our headquarters in Frederick, Maryland, along with our power business. But they're in the process of relocating to Washington, D.C. Actually, right across the river outside of Alexandria, where their business is. Okay, that's what wasn't making anything that people buy. We're not making potato chips for Fritos or cars. We sell to our customers the talent and knowledge and capability of our people. And so that's really what we sell. And we package up the knowledge that our people have and all their expertise and capabilities. And we put that into a design and a bill of a big project. And in the end, our customers buy our reputation and the competency and capability of the people who have doing the engineering and construction work around the world. We have a lot of people that have been with us a long time. Me, Beckles are kind of company. If you're excited by seeing different things around the world, if you're excited by moving, if you're motivated by not doing the same thing twice and not doing the same thing very long, if constantly working on a project, that project may take a year to 3 years, and then it's done, and then you go work on another project. And it could be a totally different project, different part of the world with a different business. One thing's for certain, they need different people. So we constantly assemble teams to engineer, buy all the stuff, and then go build a job. Then we disassemble that team and then reassemble another team to go do it again somewhere else. So if you're not intimidated by change, you like a lot of excitement doing new things, this is a great company. If you get nervous when something's different when you wake up in the morning, the way it was yesterday, it's probably in the right Obviously, the reason I'm here, let you know about Bechtel, and thank you for bringing that up. My company had me a $20 fine. We donate it to charity. But if you're not comfortable with change, then this isn't a good place to work. But if you'd like to remove things on a pretty routine basis anywhere in the world, then this is a really, really good company to work with. Okay. Some of the projects that we're working on, I obviously can't get through all that. All I would say is that there's a lot of projects that we're doing that aren't on that map. We just finished the biggest refinery in the world in India, a place called Jamnagar. It's on the west coast of India. It's not up there. We're getting ready to go in and modify that plant and expand it further. We do a lot of work in Thailand and in Malaysia and in the Philippines. There's nothing showing up there, so it's not a complete map. Just a place to say we work all over the world with thousands and thousands of people. This is our civil business. We call our civil infrastructure business headquartered in London. We've got a couple of really neat jobs that we're working on right now. First of all, just for a little bit of history, our civil business, the biggest job we've done, kind of landmark jobs in our history, our civil business, we built the Hoover Dam. We built the Channel Pump. We built the high-speed rail line from the Channel Tunnel up to London, and the last 15 miles of that all had to be underground because of the city of London. So we obviously couldn't have a high-speed rail line over into the city, so it's all underground. And then we modified and modernized a station in London called Paddington Station. And Paddington was built in the 1820s. And now if you walk in it, you think it was really built in. It's an incredibly beautiful building where the high-speed rail from London to Paris has its destination point in London. Currently, we're working on a job at London to build a high-speed rail underneath London. Because it takes too long, and then we live in London, I lived there for several years, to go from one end of London to the other on the underground, it can take you over an hour. It takes too long. So the government has commissioned us to build a high-speed rail line from one end of London to the other. It's a total of about, I would say it's about 30 miles in total. We'll have 4 stops, one on each end and 2 in the center. And we get across London from one end to the other in about 20 minutes. So that project we started working on, it's all underground. It's going to be a massive job. It'll take us about 15 years to build that job. The estimated price is about 25 billion pounds. So that'll be a good job. Somebody may end up working on it. We're working on building a metro rail system from downtown DC to the Dulles Airport. And part of that initially coming out of DC is underground, and it goes above ground. And being financed by the feds are involved in it. In the state of Maryland, the state of Virginia, and the city of Washington, D.C. And only in government fashion, today the rail system doesn't go all the way to Dulles, it stops 7 miles short. So I'm not really, they have a next phase that they're going to be working on. But the first phase is going to be ready. It'll start off and operating in about 2 years, but people will be able to get within 7 miles of the airport, and not either have to walk or get back to the we're building highways in Romania and in Kosovo. We've built highways all throughout Eastern Europe. We've built a lot of highways in Turkey. We don't do a lot of highway work in the U.S. It's not part of it. It's not. If the job is really, really difficult, maybe like pretty rocky or something, then we'd be interested. If it's simple highway work in the U.S., we generally don't go after that kind of work. But in this part of Eastern Europe and the highways we've built in Turkey, we're really, really complicated jobs through mountains, a lot of points. And so we've done a lot of that work in this one now. And we do airport work. So we're building a huge airport now in Qatar, in the Middle East. We built a new airport in Hong Kong. When we were going into Hong Kong, the old airport, literally you'd look out your window and you'd be looking in people's apartments. Well, they moved the airport from downtown and they got on a new island. They built an island and then built a new airport in Hong Kong. This airport, literally the biggest airport in the world. It's massive. The population of the country is probably about 400,000 people, so I'm not sure what they're building the airport. It's going to be one heck of an airport when we get done with it. Civil, those are the jobs around the civil world. You can see a concentration of work in the Middle East. We're doing a metro, helping in Rio, helping them modernize their metro. We have a big job in Gabon, in Africa, where they want to build out the whole infrastructure of the country. And so they hired us to do a master plan of how they can develop their natural resources in a sustainable way, really trying to leverage on using the locals there to do as much of that work as they can. So that's what the civil business. Our mining and metals business. These jobs that we do in mining and metals are really neat projects. I've been studying with their jobs over my 30 or 20 years, and a lot of the jobs, copper concentrators or aluminum smelters, these raw materials are in mountain ranges, and these facilities are built normally right at the top of these mountain ranges. So, that's actually in Iceland. We finished that job in 2008. It was not at the top of the range, but a lot of the work we do in Chile and Peru is at 10,000, 12,000 feet of elevation. And when you go to the job, you actually have to stop. You have to stop. You get up to about 6,000 feet, and you have to stop. You have to wait a couple hours. Then you go another 2,000 to 3,000 feet. You have to stop. You have to wait another couple hours, and so you have to get your blood oxygenated properly at that kind of elevation. And it's really neat when you get up to the top. You're like on the top of the world on these jobs. And I always try to go when it goes into winter. People that work there in the winter. I've been in the food job already. We have this business headquarters, as I said, in Brisbane, Australia. And as you can see from this map, we do a huge amount of mining and metal work in Australia because the country is blessed with a lot of natural resource in copper and aluminum, bauxite, and coal. In other words, coal in Australia. So we do a huge amount of work there. And you can see other Middle East. We're doing a big aluminum smelter right now. Aluminum smelters require a huge amount of electricity. So they really consume electricity to smelt the aluminum, the bauxite. And in the Middle East, because gas, the refining of or mining of oil, drilling for oil, the gas that comes out with oil, a lot of it used to get flared. It's wasted, it's burned into the atmosphere. So they've taken all that gas that they used to flare and they turned it into generating power. So the power costs in Saudi Arabia are really, really small, so that's why you see a number of aluminum smelters being built in the Middle East. It's power. And then Peru and Chile, again, that's where the copper is, so that's where the plants are. So we do a huge amount of work in those countries. And then also in Canada. And a lot of mining opportunities, a lot of work up there that we've done over the years. My business right now in the U.S., we're completing 3 major refineries. We just finished a big refinery, about 230,000 barrels a day refinery in St. Louis. We are finishing a 300,000 barrel a day refinery in Port Arthur, Texas, and we're working on a refinery, a small one, about 80,000 barrels a day for Chevron in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Most of the work in the oil and gas business is outside the U.S. So we do a lot of work in Canada. We do a huge amount of work in the Middle East. We do a lot of work in India. The biggest refinery in the world we built in India is 680,000 barrel a day refinery. We built it in about 4 years. And added to the existing 600,000 barrel a day refinery that we built in the early 90s. So that one refinery complex in India right now processes about 13 million barrels a day of crude. It's a huge, huge facility. We're building LNG plants, liquefied natural gas. So where you take natural gas and you chill it. You actually freeze it. And at minus 160 degrees C, it turns into liquid. And then you put it into tankers and then ship the gas in tankers to where the gas is needed. So in Australia, they have what is called coal-fed methane gas. They have a lot of coal in Australia, just like they do in the U.S. And there's a lot of gas trapped in that coal. Coal-fed methane gas. So you drill down into the coal bed, you frack the coal bed, gas comes out, we liquefy the gas, and then we ship it primarily to Japan, Korea, and China. Now, some of you may have heard about the shale gas discoveries in the United States. It's the same type of gas. Instead of, in Australia, it's embedded in coal. In the U.S., it's embedded in shale. So we're doing the same thing now in the U.S. My company doesn't do any of the drilling. We don't do any of the fracking. We only process the gas once it gets to the surface. But shale gas in the United States is going to change the energy picture in our country. And I think it's got great promise provided it's developed in a safe and environmentally proper manner. And I think the big oil and gas companies that are now coming into the shale gas market and buying up a lot of the shale gas fields, they know how to do it and they will do it. But that gives us the opportunity to take U.S. gas. It's going to keep U.S. gas prices really low, which will help power generation in the U.S. It'll keep power costs low because a lot of gas will be used to generate electricity in gas-fired power plants. But we're also going to take some of that gas, liquefy it, and export it out of the U.S. And I'm working on a job right now in South Texas to do that. It'll be the first job in the U.S. that liquefies our gas and exports it. That hasn't been done ever. The U.S. has always been an importer of oil and gas. So we're going to get into exporting. These are the projects that we have around the world. I have a huge concentration of work right now in Australia. It's we have 4 of these big liquefied natural gas plants that we're doing there. 3 of them are what's called fixed price. So the customer comes to us and says, we want you to build this plant. And we want you to give us a price, and then you're held to that price. So for me, it's about $25 billion worth of lump sum fixed price construction. And so you think about building a house, and a $200,000 house, and you pay the bill of $200,000, when our customers are paying us $25 billion to build these plants. So we better have it right. And if we don't, in 32 years will be over. Power. I used to run the power business. And one of the things we went after hard and won, and I hope we got the price right because it's also a fixed price, is the biggest solar thermal power plant in the world. It's called Ivanpah. If you want to go on the website, you can find it. IPANPAH. It's in the California desert, right on the border of Nevada. And 400 megawatt solar thermal power plant. So it looks similar to this. It's mirrors. Mirrors take the sun's rays and reflect them on a boiler, like a big teapot at the top of a steel tower. The steel tower is 480 feet in the air, and the boiler sits on top of that. This was a pilot plant. This plant right here is actually in Israel, and the plant there is about 7 megawatts. So you just imagine the scale of the plant we're building now is 400 megawatts. So the mirror field, you can see that mirror field looks pretty big. Our mirror field's about 150 times the size of that. So if you ever fly from Vegas to LA, in a year you'll be able to see this plant that's going up now. The steel tower is being erected. And as civil engineers, structural engineers, one of the biggest challenges we've had on this job is the design of that tower. Really, really complicated design because you have seismic conditions and then you have wind loads. You've got this boiler that's sitting at the top of this thing that's sort of created all kinds of challenges around dampening the movement of the boiler at the top of that tower. I'm sure we have it right. Our world's best civil designers say we got it right, and this job is about 30% complete. And the customer just came to us and said, we want 2 more of these jobs, and they're going to be 700 megawatts. All right, so it's going to be a massive, massive solar thermal build-out in the U.S., and they're actually pretty competitive. I mean, if you compare the cost of these jobs on a per kilowatt basis to the cost of a nuclear plant, they're a lot less. If you compare it to the cost of a gas plant, probably about double. Okay? The challenge with these plants is if the sun's not shining, they're not producing. Right? So one of the things we did to try to deal with that challenge, we came up with a heat sink of molten salt. Okay? So when the steam gets created in the boiler, there's a slipstream that comes off the main steam system of the plant, and it goes into this, basically a big tank. And the tank is filled with molten salt, and we heat the molten salt with steam. And then we also have piping systems that travel through the molten salt, so if the sun stops shining at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can open the valve, it's open automatically with a control. You open the valve, and the steam can get superheated through the heat sink, through the molten salt. And that process, the molten salt will heat the steam enough to generate power for about 4 hours. And so we have people working on trying to perfect that to make it better so that it will last 5 hours or 6 hours. But these are some neat plants, and they're fairly cost competitive. In our communications business, I mentioned we build cell towers all over the country. We've done a little bit of this work in Europe, a little bit in the Middle East, but not much. This is primarily a U.S. Market for us. And they're small jobs, but when you do enough of them, buying all the stuff and then the logistics process of getting it all into the right place, it's complicated. So Beckle's got a good value proposition to customers that will pay us to do all that work for them, because it's a race to market. Okay, everybody's going 4G, and so AT&T and Verizon and Singular are all racing with each other to get there first. And so we have a good market, and we do all of AT&T's work. We also do transmission lines, so electrical transmission, and the build out of renewables, whether it's wind or we do some wind work or solar, you have to hook it up to the grid. And unfortunately in the U.S. it's a real mess. Because the grid is regulated in a way that frankly, I could spend an hour talking about it, but it makes no sense. Really, really complicated. And it's not designed with the consumer's interests in mind. So, and that complexity is an opportunity for Bechtel to navigate the permitting authorities and the approval authorities to get these transmission lines permitted. Building them is the easy part. Okay, so we do that work as well. So those are the power jobs that we've got around the world. As I said, we do a lot of nuclear work. There is a new nuclear plant now in the U.S. being built. It's called Watts Bar. It's in Tennessee, in Watts Bar, Tennessee. It's about halfway between Chattanooga and Knoxville. And the plant was about 80% complete in the mid-1980s, and it got shut down. About 4 years ago, TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, the owner of that project, asked Bechtel to restart it. So we have 12,000 people in Watts Bar restarting that plant. And the TVA has another plant called Bellefonte. It's in Alabama, near Huntsville, that was also shut down, and they've just hired us to restart and finish that plant as well. So those 2 nuclear jobs are going on in the U.S. We also are in the process of designing a small modular reactor. Reactors today, the big ones are anywhere from 1,200 megawatts to 1,800 megawatts. There's not many utilities that can afford them. And if they take forever to build, and forever to build something always means the financing costs to build it are extreme, and all that ends up affecting the rate. So we developed, in the middle of designing, a small modular nuclear plant. You can build the reactor in a factory, and each reactor can produce about 150 megawatts. So, and it's air cooled, so you don't need water to cool it. And water is going to become more and more of a problem around the world, but certainly in our country. So we're out working on that, and we have one customer that signed up, but it'll be probably another 3 or 4 years before we get it approved, the design approved by the NRC, the U.S. government. Now, we also do U.S. government work. This business is headquartered in Washington, D.C., and its customers are mainly the Department of Energy and the U.S. Department of Defense. So if any of you know about the labs, the national labs that the U.S. government operates, we run 2 of the biggest ones at Los Alamos and Mars, Livermore. And we have 20,000 people that work in these labs doing a lot of research. So I talked to some students earlier that were interested in research. Well, we do it. We do it for our government business in these labs. We are in the process of building a huge facility in Hanford, Washington to clean up nuclear waste from World War II. The Hanford site was where a lot of the nuclear weapons testing went on for years and years in our country. And frankly, I think people probably did what they thought was the right thing at the time and how they stored it. But it's creating environmental problems now. The material is leaching through the tanks that store it, and it's creating some real problems in the environment there. So we started about 10 years ago, working on a big project that will gather up all the waste, what we call vitrify it, and you basically you try to process it as best you can, and essentially you take the really, really bad stuff and you blend it with glass, and you encase it. It becomes a big glass tube, and then you encase it in containers, big sleeves. And it was meant to be buried underground in the body. But that project has now been canceled by the government. And so we're not sure where we're going to put this stuff when this plant finally is ready to start processing the waste and creating these glass tubes. But it'll be another 15 years probably before it's finished. So any of you who work for Becker, you may know working on this job. We have about 1,200 people out there working on that. So you can see it there, the Hanford waste treatment plant. We also, through the U.S. government, paid for by U.S. taxpayers, we have done a lot of work in Russia dismantling the Russian missile silos. They had a lot of competency around building them, but not a lot of competency around taking them apart in a safe way. So they hired us to do it. It doesn't show up there on the map. We don't talk about it a whole lot, but we have people over there paid for by the U.S. taxpayers dismantling Russian missile sites. They'll probably be there for another 5 years. And we also got involved in Chernobyl. Many of you will have read, don't remember like some of us do, but you will have read about Chernobyl, the nuclear disaster at Chernobyl. And we were called in to help the Russians clean that up because they really didn't have the competency to do it. And unfortunately, Bechtel had competency because of 3 Mile Island. I'm sure you would have read about that too. Bechtel went in and cleaned up 3 Mile Island, so they did not do it. So the Russians called us in under this company, our government company, to do that work. A couple of other really, really neat things that we've done. When Hurricane Katrina came through, we sent an email to our people. This would be help was needed. If you wanted to leave the job that you were on and go down and help, you'd have permission to do it. And we had hundreds and hundreds of people that were ready to go. Several hundreds showed up, and we started leasing land and just going out and buying trailers for people to come and live in. And we did that long before the government started doing it. And so anyway, they picked up on what we were doing, and they ended up hiring us to do it for thousands and thousands of people. I think it was it was the right thing to do. Our people felt really good about it, and I know a lot of people that did it, worked on it, and it's just the way Bechtel, the kind of company that Bechtel is, the kind of things we do. When Kuwait was invaded by Iraq, and the Iraqis, when they were retreating, set everything on fire, Bechtel was called in by the Kuwaiti ruling family to put out the fires. And we thought it would take a couple of years to get all the fires out. As you can see, we put them out in about 8 months. And it's a pretty neat job for us. And this was another example of, because it was a dangerous place to be. When the Kuwaitis hired us, one of our concerns was whether or not we'd have people that would be willing to go do it. And thousands signed up. And probably 1,000 people went. And it's just kind of the culture and the nature of the people in Bechtel. They go anywhere in the world, and they do what it says there. We do whatever it takes to get the job done, and we'll do what other companies won't do. And it's just that mindset that our people have that I think makes our company a lot different. I won't even just skip that. Our customers, any customer, I think, in any business, they expect that when they hire you, you're going to do it right, and you're going to do it with a lot of quality. And we have a Six Sigma process in our company. We're constantly looking at how can we improve the processes that we use that deliver results to our customer to make it faster, cheaper, and higher quality. And we have lots of people that are Six Sigma black belts that do nothing to try to improve our processes. Safety is really, really important to us. And our jobs, when you're working on big construction jobs, it's a dangerous environment. And we have a lot of the work we do is with our own craftsmen. And by our own craftsmen, I mean they're Bechtel carpenters, they're Bechtel welders, they're Bechtel electricians and pipe fitters. They're Bechtel people. And we put them out there, and it's challenging work, and it's hard work, and it's dangerous work. So keeping those people safe is a value that the company has. We try to think about it as the leaders of the company, that if our kids were working on those jobs, how would we ensure that those jobs were as safe as they can be? So we spend a lot of effort keeping our jobs safe. And unfortunately, it's not where we want to be. I mean, our goal is 0 accidents, that nobody gets hurt. Everybody at the end of the shift walks out the gate, and they're safe. And they have all their limbs and all their fingers and all their toes. But it doesn't always happen. And, so it's something you never stop working on. I, unfortunately, was running a big project for my company in Egypt, and in 2005, and I had 4 guys die on my job in one day. In a pipe, they were welding, and they inhaled argon gas. And argon gas, reverse osmosis, you're dead. And I knew 2 of them, and I never forget it. Sustainability. One of the neat things about our company and all the places we work, we always try to hire local people. So whether it was in Egypt, whether we're working in Africa or Thailand, India, doesn't matter. We hire local people, and we train them. We train them how to be carpenters, technicians, and in many of the places where we're working, the poverty and what the people have would break your heart. And so, one of the things our people feel really good about is going into places and teaching people a skill that they can use when we're gone. And actually, a lot of them come with us when we leave. They'll end up working with us in other parts of the world. And that's why we have so many nationalities that work in our company. They come from everywhere and do lots of neat things. We treat them, they're back home employees. Okay, here's the pitch. Go there. You're interested. Georgia Tech students have done well in Bechtel. And we picked Georgia Tech along with 14 other schools in the U.S. that we are trying to focus our recruiting efforts and our financial resources on. And so all of you can be proud of the folks that have come before you that have represented you well. Didn't cost companies to come here trying to attract talent out of this great university. So with that, everybody's telling me I'm out of time. I knew I'd run out of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm out of time. Do I have any time for a question? No. All right. Anybody have a question? Yes.
Why did the government shut down the upper mountain? Waste.
I wish I knew why. First of all, it was a Bechtel job. If we did take off my Bechtel hat, on the hat of the citizen, I think it was a mistake to shut down the upper mountain. I think all the reasons that are cited for shutting down the upper mountain do not take into consideration how that waste is being stored today. Okay? There's nuclear material. It's not from our power plants, from our nuclear power plants. The spent fuel at all of our nuclear power plants today is stored right into the plant. And so if you talk about a security risk, somebody getting a hold of spent nuclear fuel, well, at 104 nuclear sites, it's just sitting there. And some of the places, literally, it's sitting there behind a fence, a chain link fence, just sitting there. It's in a building, it's covered up, behind a chain link fence. How's that better than putting it 2,000 feet under the ground, sealed up and secured? Don't ask me. But Yucca, I think, I don't think it'll be revived anytime soon. And so our nuclear stations will continue to store their waste on sites. And when we finish building this facility at Hanford, where we're treating all this nuclear waste, all those cylinders, we'll stack them up and bring them somewhere up at Hanford. Until if Yucca ever goes, that's where we'll end up. Anything else?
Looking for
Sorry.
Thank you so much for coming, and everyone. Everyone, thanks a lot for coming out. One quick announcement: when you guys leave, exit out that back door or this front door right here, and be on the lookout for an email about the next meeting.